Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss horror and movies, and today I'm here to talk to you about The Pale Blue Eye.
It's coffee time!
Even though this is not purely horror and it's an American mystery thriller film, I was excited because of the cast and because it is a movie based on a book that kind of introduces us to Edgar Allan Poe when he was a young cadet. Luckily for me, this one is available on Netflix. I do believe that it had a theatrical release in December, but only very specific areas got to see it in the cinema, which might have been a really good experience because of the beautiful cinematography. But us peasants had to watch it at home, and I'm here to let you know what I thought about the film. This is an American mystery thriller directed by Scott Cooper, and it is based on the novel of the same name by Louis Banyard. The cast includes Christian Bale, Gillian Anderson, and Harry Melling that I only knew from Harry Potter, but honestly, I was watching the movie and thinking there was possibly no better cast for this Edgar Allan Poe. The plot follows a veteran detective, Augustus Landard, in 1830 West Point, New York, as he investigates a series of murders at the United States Military Academy with the aid of Edgar Allan Poe, a young military cadet. Our veteran detective, Landard, is summoned to help solve some grisly murders that are currently happening. We are in the middle of dead, cold winter, and one of the best things that the movie has is exactly that cold atmosphere that fits really perfectly well with the plot of the film, which is also a really cold-blooded story. At the academy, the cadet Fry has not only been discovered dead, hanging from a tree, but also while his body was at the mortuary, somebody stole his heart. And because they are afraid of a scandal, they decide it is best to put this on the hands of an experienced detective. Augustus Landard, who is one of our main characters and is played by Christian Bale, is said detective. He is a tormented man that lives in an isolated cottage after he lost his wife, and also his daughter disappeared. So he's also been drinking a lot. He's kind of a drunk. So he has like all of these things that kind of already make a perfect veteran detective, and his character is very dry, but you can really see through his face expressions that he's been through a lot, and the way that he goes about the investigation and everything, I just really love his character. He's a very melancholic character. You can see in his face that he's been through a lot of grief, and as we move on with the film, we're going to discover more and more things about his past that are going to change probably your perspective on the character. He is obviously perfect for the job. He has absolutely nothing to lose, and he also has a lot of years of experience. He has seen a lot of death in his life, so he doesn't care about the spookiness of the case, about the dead bodies, the mutilated bodies. He has no problem with all of that. So one of the cadets that is in this military academy approaches the detective and tells him that he suspects the killer is a poet. And that young cadet is, we will learn, to be Edgar Allan Poe. And you know, the portrayal of Edgar Allan Poe was one of my favorite things here, and the duo of these two characters, the detective Landard and Edgar Allan Poe, and their dynamic was for me the best part of the film. The young cadet reminds our detective of his lost daughter, and obviously the detective is going to be sort of a father figure for Edgar Allan Poe, so the dynamic that they have is really nice to see. This movie is really heavily based on their characters. They put a lot of effort into them, and that is why sometimes the mystery loses the importance that it should actually have, because we're trying to solve here a murder mystery at the end of the day. Apart from these two main characters, we have, of course, the rest of the cadets in the academy. We have a doctor and his family. So there is quite a good ensemble of characters, but it is kept quite small, like the cast. So that allows us for having a small amount of suspects as well when it comes to solve our crime. So our detective not only has to deal with some grisly murders, there's also dead animals that appear. He suspects there might be something satanic or occult going on, and he also needs to deal with obnoxious rich people as well. The Pale Blue Eye is a movie that is looking to have that gothic gloominess, that kind of vibe and atmosphere, which is why also it really fits perfectly that Lander would kind of team up with Edgar Allan Poe, who brings that kind of more romantic gothic personality to the mix. And I feel like they did achieve a really good atmosphere, most of it because of the landscapes and the beautiful cinematography. The problem is that there is so much focus put into the atmosphere as well as the characters that, as I mentioned before, I felt like they forgot a little bit the mystery, and it's not as important or not the main focus of the film. I had the impression after the first like 20 minutes or so, it just shifts and the murders are not on the front anymore, which was a little bit confusing. This is a genre that tends to be really cozy, you know, those gothic movies, and the director Cooper, he knows what he's doing. He takes a lot of the tropes from this type of films and he's not afraid to just go fully embracing them, and most of the time when you just accept the tropes and embrace them, they work. And also he is leaving us a lot of clues and little Easter eggs about Edgar Allan Poe. There is a raven, of course, that comes at some point. Like, he's leaving us all of these little things. I think he probably is a big Edgar Allan Poe fan, and it shows. For me, one of the best things of the film was the elegant photography, the way that the movie looks. It's just fantastic. I gotta praise them for that. It brings some sort of like intensity and creepiness to the film. It gives you that impression that there are some horrors in the air, and at the very beginning you don't even know if maybe something supernatural is gonna happen because of how everything is being set up, and it's kind of like that kind of almost Sleepy Hollow vibe. When it comes to the horror, like I said, this is not a horror movie, but there are obviously horror elements to it, specifically, as I've mentioned, the atmosphere. And apart from that, we have the grisly murders. Even though the murders are not too bloody, you mostly just get to see the dead corpses, and you get to see them in the mortuary where they are trying to figure out how they died and what happened. So the creepiness of the movie mostly comes from the atmosphere, and I feel like this is a really well achieved gothic movie without being horror. At the end of the day, I ended up giving this movie a 3 out of 5. I feel like this was almost like Knives Out but gothic, because we have a small ensemble of characters and we know one of them is responsible for these murders, but as a viewer we're trying to figure it out. And it is a movie where when you think you have things figured out, the director manages to pull the rug under you and surprise you at the end. So I was actually a really fan of the ending of this film. This is like a winter western and almost like a horror thriller because of the beautiful cinematography, and I do feel like this is a perfect movie to watch right now while we're still kind of in winter. It's still January, so it's going to be perfect for, you know, like a weekend on the couch with your blanket, a hot beverage. So it's gonna be just a cozy watch. It is quite slow pace. There's a lot of focus on, you know, conversations, monologues, and not so much on the murders. So just putting it out there so you know what you're getting yourself into. It's also over 2 hours, so the slow pace might not be something that everybody is just willing to accept. But anyways, I really enjoyed it. So let me know, you guys, what you thought about the movie, if you've seen it or are you planning to watch it. Let's talk about it in the comments down below. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!